The three of them return to the lobby, the weight of their experiences hanging heavily in the air. Se-young with an embarrassed look recalls what he had done. He remembers prostrating himself before Ho-young told him he would serve him and even called some level 2 newbie sir. As the trio levels up, Yi-sol congratulates Ho-young, who thanks her with a humble smile. Se-young was trying to suppress his anger, thinking that the only one he wanted to serve was his boss. He grits his teeth at the thought that it's over for him if this gets out, but as a man he cannot go back on his words. Glancing at him, Ho-young wonders if Se-young needs to go to the toilet to poop or something. While Yi-sol looks around and guesses that nobody's there yet, which makes her wonder if they were the first ones back. Ho-young replies that it looks like they cleared the mission faster than the others because they were lucky and managed to find the kobold's weakness. Se-young was processing the fact that they were in first place. Yi-sol shouts that it wasn't just luck, it was all thanks to Ho-young's observational skills, as she could have never thought of using poison. Ho-young laughs off her compliment, saying if it weren't for her support it would have been much harder, but secretly he feels like a fraud. In the meantime, other parties also start arriving and Ho-young notices Jun Se-ong and Jun Ho's party. He figures that they must have found the poisonous apples too, but he wonders if the other parties will make it back fine. Everyone's attention gets diverted when someone shouts that another party has come back, but as they look, only 2 members are seen, saying they made it. Yi-sol asks them about the third person and the girl starts crying, saying it's just the 2 of them, as she recalls her team member being killed by one of the kobolds. An announcement grabs their attention, stating that the first level mission has been completed by all parties and repeating the same words again and again. Yi-sol shouts for them to wait because someone hasn't come back yet, but the notification continues, saying that a total of 6 parties have returned alive and 8 players have failed to return. Ho-young expected it to be hard for everyone to make it back alive, but couldn't believe that 8 of them had already died. He imagines endless skulls around him and the tower, wondering how many more will die before they make it to the top. The announcement states that they were beginning calculations for the level 1 mission, with the parties who made it back alive as one whole team, and the party that cleared the first level first will receive 1,000 gold. Each looking at their status windows, Se-young and Yi-sol were happily saying that they were the first ones. Ho-young looks at his profile, thinking he got 2,000 gold for both bonuses, which is a bit lacking compared to the tutorial, but gold was a kind of insurance for his future survival. He knew he needed to save as much as he could. He then hears someone asking which party got first. Seeing people staring at him, he realizes he'll have to reveal it this time, as the party that returns the second already knows. He raises his hand and is about to tell everyone when Se-young proudly shouts it is them, calling everyone else as weak, and that is an obvious result. Ho-young looks at him, seeing him all proud and bragging. A man tries to confirm if his party was first. Se-young responds with a challenging look and asks him what's with that reaction. Is he mad that they got first? The man says that's not what he meant. Ho-young glances at Se-young and guesses he forgot about the fact that he was beaten up by those kobolds, but thanks to him it lessens the attention on him for a bit, but his thoughts get interrupted by the crowd's comments, with a woman mocking him, saying that he got a first place but his level is only 2. A man adds that he got 2,000 gold from doing nothing. Another woman says he got carried, and a man asks if he doesn't feel bad at all. Hearing their badmouthing, he thinks he guesses he wasn't right about the tension getting any less. Yi-sol tries to defend Ho-young by taking his side but gets stopped by him as he tells her it's all right, they're not going to listen anyway. She insists, but Ho-young states he'll have to show them instead. Jun Se-ong claps his hands to get everyone's attention and tells them to calm down, saying they need to focus on his profile shows he is a level 8 class archer, one of the highest level players in the region. Another level 8 player, Jun Ho, agrees with him, adding they should cheer up and keep pushing on for the sake of the people who passed away. His profile also shows up, stating that he is a combat swordsman and one of the highest level players in the region. Then more shouts come from the crowd, stating they shouldn't be depressed or upset and need to get it together so they can do this. But as they were cheering one another on, the blue flame and the torch faded and were replaced by a bright red flame, accompanied by a warning and an announcement which caused people to panic, asking what was happening and why the flames changed color. The notification revealed that the survival rate for the first level of Region C-2567 is below average and a penalty mission will be implemented. When someone asked about the penalty mission, the announcement explained that a death mission will begin soon, requiring them to choose a candidate in their minds. The player with the most votes will carry out the death mission. With a 5-minute timer, panic spreads among them and a woman asks if they are going to die if they get picked for this, as it is revealed that if they do not choose anyone they'll automatically vote for themselves. At that moment people realize that being voted here means the end for them. The clock starts ticking and death weighs on their minds. As time passes they gaze at each other, realizing they must choose someone in this critical moment. Yi-sol shouts that if everyone votes for themselves no one will have to do the death mission. Someone agrees with her, but another player argues that it might be possible that all of them will have to do it. Yi-Sol gets speechless at this point, and someone shouts that this isn't the time to be arguing as the clock is still ticking with over 1 minute remaining. A player then points to Ho-young, whose name had something above it. It turns out that Jun-ho had voted for him. Yi-Sol calls out to him in pity, and someone asks if this is too cruel. Another one shouts that no one said that it's not anonymous. Jun-ho apologizes to Ho-young, mentioning that they do need to choose someone. Ho-young, with a painful expression on his face, says he did expect it given the atmosphere, but he's a bit taken back. After all, he doesn't want to die. Yi-Sol tries to convince them that it's not too late if everyone votes for themselves, and Ho-young votes for Jun-ho. However, he cuts her off, saying it won't work. He explains that the other player had a point. They didn't know if that strategy would be effective, and that the trust among them was already broken as voting continued. The names kept appearing on Ho-young's name tag as people decided on who to rule out. Seeing the names on his head increasing one by one, he knows that the biggest reason is that he's low level. They have lost the notion in society that the strong should protect the weak. Yi-Sol shouts that they're too cruel. How can they do this to someone? A man shouts back, asking what they are supposed to do. He's going to die if he doesn't vote, so he hasn't done anything wrong. Another woman adds that she's sure he would have died anyway given his level, and that's how masks fell and people revealed their true selves. With only 1 second remaining, Se-yeon also votes for Ho-young, mockingly expressing sorry to him. It was a cruel reminder that the world of the end really is here. The window declares that all votes have been cast, and the portal to the death mission is opening. As the portal opens, the only one standing in front of the deadly red portal was our boy. Everyone looks on, questioning if this is real. Yi-Sol, with tears in her eyes and her mouth covered, calls for Ho-young, while Se-yeon is laughing to himself, realizing that with Ho-young gone his problem is solved, and calls himself a genius. Ho-young considers himself as the sacrificial lamb with the altar set up, and with faces of guilt and relief behind him, he has no choice but to climb. The Calvary, however, at the top isn't death but a delightful treat, as it turns out that with the guide, what awaits him isn't death, but a really awesome reward. As the candidates waited anxiously, someone approached Se-yeon and Yi-Sol to check on them. It's Jun Seong, who remarks that even though their time together was brief, they've been companions looking out for each other, and it's sad to part ways like this. Se-yeon, with a hint of bitterness, responds that it's not sad, people get what they deserve. Puzzled, Jun Seong questions what he means by that. Se-yeon retorts that it's obvious if they look at Ho-young's level that all he did was try to benefit from him while he carried the group with teary eyes. Yi-Sol asks Se-yeon what he's trying to say, reminding him that Ho-young's abilities got them through the mission. In anger, he dismisses Ho-young's abilities, saying he just got lucky with his scheming and took the final blow when the enemy was already down. Yi-Sol asks if he's sure Ho-young didn't save him from almost dying. Knowing that it was true, Se-yeon falls silent while his anger builds inside him, recalling Ho-young killing the kobolds one after the other from earlier. He starts to doubt whether Ho-young has a skill that changes the level he shows. This makes him think that Ho-young might make it back alive. Jun Seong, trying to calm the tension, says he hopes Ho-young is as good as Yi-Sol makes him out to be, because that way he'll at least have a slight chance of making it back. Hearing those words, she recalls Ho-young's confident promise to show his abilities. She wipes her tears and firmly says she believes he will return safely. She's sure of it. Jun Seong smiles, agreeing with her and expressing his belief that Ho-young will come back. Meanwhile, standing in the eerie kobold tribe with birds flying around, Ho-young notices that these are the same kobolds from their first mission. Compared to before, the atmosphere feels creepy, but glancing at the status window of the guide, he feels reassured, admitting he was considering voting for himself if things went south. He now feels things are going his way. Recalling Se-yeon's ugly face, he clenches his fist, determined to deliver the final blow through the voting, though it was already decided. Suddenly, a status window announces the return of the kobold tribe's hunting group, which appears right behind him. And he sees the glaring kobolds arriving, with one huge red dude behind the smaller ones with a completely pissed off face giving off a deadly aura. The notification alerts him that the death mission will begin, instructing him to kill the chieftain and the hunting group that are enraged by the death of their tribesman. The level 12 kobold chieftain grows menacingly and they charge at Ho-young. Facing a boss monster on a death mission, he feels a surge of adrenaline. The guide's status window indicates the kobold chieftain is the dungeon's boss and, like other kobolds, is weak to poison. Wasting no time at all, Ho-young finds the poisoned apple and drips poison apple pulp on his sword, considering that a level 12 boss monster along with others is nearly an impossible opponent for anyone else. The kobold roars and swings its spear at him, but Ho-young dodges, letting it hit the ground, strikes the kobold with his level 2 basic swordsmanship. Confident that this time will be different, he kills all the side characters with a sigh of relief. He thinks only the chieftain remains, holding onto 2 blades, Our boy shouts at the boss monster. Ready for the final showdown, he swings his sword at the chieftain, who deftly avoids it by pulling back to minimize the impact, impressed by the monster's skill. He acknowledges it as a true death mission boss, but the chieftain turns around and starts running in the middle of their fight, leaving Ho Young with a stunned expression on his face. So he chases after it, frustrated, wondering how it can call itself a boss monster. As he attacks from behind, the chieftain's HP decreases. He believes that the fight will soon be over. This made him wonder if this stage was meant to be easily cleared as a bonus stage. Launching his attack, he's suddenly surprised when his sword doesn't penetrate the chieftain's body. He notices a bright red full moon in the sky and the chieftain's eyes flashing red. It attacks, injuring Hun's right shoulder and causing blood to spill out as he couldn't react in time to the chieftain's sudden attack. Back at base, Seon comments that they can't do anything about someone who's already dead and declares that he will carry the team for the rest of the floors. Yi Sol prays for Ho Young, prompting Se-yeon to ask if they understand what death is and criticizing her for praying for someone already dead. Hearing that insult, she scolds him and says that even when the world is in this state, he should have some conscience. Se-yeon laughs, questioning if he said something wrong, but a voice interrupts their bickering, pointing out to the portal. They all look and see Ho Young returning, with the area healing the slash wound across his chest. An announcement declares that the player who participated in the death mission has returned alive. He smiles and confirms "I'm back" as he returns safe and sound. He recalls the guide's warning about the chieftain's increased abilities. When its eyes turn red after getting injured, he notices its red eyes moving backward. With his HP decreasing, he leans against a tree trying to stop the bleeding. Seeing the kobold chieftain charging at him with its HP constantly decreasing over time, Ho Young realized that all he needed was one good hit, but how he was going to do it was the problem as the chieftain rushed to attack. He dodges the strong attack, causing the chieftain's sword to punch a hole through the tree. He realizes that while a sword may not be able to cut a wall, a nail can pierce it. During this entire fight, Ho Young had been thinking that a sword was a weapon only for slashing subconsciously. Coming up with a new idea, he sees the chieftain charging towards him once again. This time, he was going to use its momentum as it rushes towards him, combining his new attack with his own weight to it. The chieftain leaps high into the air, striking this time with two of its blades at once. Ho Young, in that moment, focuses everything into a single ball, and unleashes it all into a single point, piercing a hole straight through the chieftain. Seeing how his planned work brought a smile to his face. In the end, he gained a new skill called stabbing, as the system announced that he had cleared the death mission. Back at the safe zone, Yi Sol didn't waste any time and immediately threw herself towards Ho Young in order to hug him, but before she could reach him, something huge slammed her out of the way, causing her to roll back quite a few times as she finally stops herself with the help of a nearby pillar. But the sudden attack left her all confused and dazed. Even Ho Young was confused by what was happening as someone else managed to hug him first. It turns out to be Se-yeon, who proudly declares that he has faith in his big brother to return back to them safely.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.